Welcome back to the show. Well, we've got some incredible music coming up for you. Before I introduce you to the musician behind it all, we're going to throw to you this fabulous song, and it's an album by the same name. It's called Manic, Pixie, Dream Boy by Lady Charles. We'll be back to introduce you to Lady Charles right after this.
Canadian with depression, I call that red, white, and blue. DSM, DXM. Hello, how are you? So baby, wear my zoot suit, and I'll wear your velvet dress, and we'll walk down to the horseshoe to befriend Orville Peck.
I love when musicians and artists sing along, like just mouthing the words like my next guest was just doing with Manic, Pixie, Dream Boy. I'm joined by Lady Charles. Welcome. How are you?
Thanks, good.
Excellent. Let's, before we talk about your musical background, tell me a little bit about that particular song and the inspiration behind it.
So it was right before the pandemic, and it was around 2019. I really wanted to make a personal theme song, sort of exploring all the ups and downs of who I am, but turning it into something really fun and catchy that people could relate to. So I kind of had just 2 weeks of obsessive trying to write the song. There was a bunch of rejected Manic Pixie Dream Boys, and then finally came on that one, and then finished it up for the album that I just released.
The title itself, can you describe where that comes from?
Yeah, so the Manic Pixie Dream Girl was an archetype in movies back in when I was younger. Garden State is a big one, 500 Days of Summer. There's sort of really quirky, the quirky love interest girls basically who would have crazy styles, and I was kind of related to them, even though that's it was a bit of a sexist trope, because it was a lot of it was sort of pathological, sort of mental illness type things, but they were always sort of portrayed as oh, this person's just quirky, this person's just... So I thought it would be cool to flip that a bit and be a Manic Pixie Dream Boy.
And I see, if I remember correctly, you kind of described it too as, a little bit of David Bowie in there, and kind of an ode to sort of that 80s rock and roll. Is that right?
Definitely. Yeah, musically there's a lot of Bowie in there. Bruce Springsteen was a big one for me growing up. U2, Kate Bush, who does really cool stuff, and then a lot of modern hip hop too. There's some very nice, humorous lyrics in hip hop, and it's nice to kind of draw from that,
Yeah, and I remember reading you were really, that was sort of refreshing for you, that you found a way to use your sense of humor in your lyrics and bring some fun to, a serious topic. For instance, I wrote this down because watching the video, you had obviously lyrics come up, but at one point you write, "Don't like the video, that's fine, we all have different tastes." And I wondered where that came from. Was that feedback perhaps from, on social media? Where did that quote come from?
I think it was just while I was editing the video. I had been watching a few different creators who would tend to have little sudden things flash on the screen and stuff, and I thought it was funny because so many people get so kind of uptight about people not liking their work. Right. But it's people are gonna not like your work, and in fact, if a lot of people hate what you're doing, it's a good sign in a way, because it means a lot of people have been exposed to it. Some people are going to love it, some people are going to hate it. So I thought it would be funny to just kind of speak to those people in the middle of the video too, instead of being defensive. Just be this might not be for you.
I like it. It's a good message. I'm gonna remember that one. You mentioned some of the inspirations, you know, Bowie and Springsteen and hip hop and that kind of thing. But where did music come into your life outside of, you know, just listening to music? When did you decide that I wanted to perform? I wanted to start writing music.
I think it was when I was about 8 years old. I heard "Changes" on the radio by David Bowie, and that chorus, like, really, like, it grabbed me. I loved music before that, but nothing had quite, like, really awakened it in me until that point. And so I asked my parents, 9th or 10th birthday, for a piano. They ended up getting me a guitar, but that actually works out. I love playing guitar.
Nice.
And I performed, like, at the school, like, coffee house, like, when I was 10 years old, and I really enjoyed it, and I felt I was really able to kind of turn off all the distractions and just get up there and play, and it's a really addictive feeling to be able to do that, so it's just kind of been part of my life since.
Tell me about the rest of the album. How would you describe the rest of the album?
So I recorded the album mostly during the pandemic when everything was locked down, and so it was a very, like, introspective time, but I didn't want it to be like all, like, sort of darkness and isolation. So I thought, like, wow, what would it be like if I made, like, a epic 70s art rock album, but just entirely me, like, in my house, like, in my room, recording every part. And so it was sort of a process of trying to make each song as big as possible, as many layers of different sounds, and to create something that doesn't quite fit in the now, doesn't quite fit in the 70s, but is very, like, personal to sort of the type of music that I like.
Did you produce all the videos then yourself?
Yes, I shot the, well, sorry, I didn't edit all of them.
Okay.
The one you showed, that I produced. For some of them, I worked with Arib Tariq, who's a really great video editor. So that would be like for Apocalypse Girls and stuff.
Okay.
Those sort of eye-popping computer-generated visuals are him, and then the parts with me, I sort of would film remotely and send them on. So there's some collaboration there, but it is a very DIY project.
I'm just running low on time. How can people find you? You're all over social media. Where can they find you on social media?
Yeah, so I'm on Instagram as Lady Charles Music. I'm on Tumblr, Lady Charles Music, ladycharles.bandcamp.com to find my music.
Time, but I want to thank you so much.
Okay.
Really appreciate
Yeah,
Lady
thanks.
Charles. As we said, you can find Lady Charles all over social media. We'll be right back after this. Don't go anywhere.